Harvest VR was suggested by Scarlet Ibis, and I'm so glad that it was. This game might be one of the secret hidden gems of the Quest 2 that I had no idea was out there for free. This game puts you in this beautiful countryside. You have your own farm, but there's so much more to it. Crafting, mining, fishing, all these different mechanics, and where you're running your own little village, making money in this relaxing simulator. With over 300 ratings and about a 4.2 star rating, this game has actually been out for a couple years now. Since coming out in March of 2021, this game has 62% 5-star ratings and a split with 18% 4, 9% 3, 4% 2, and 7% 1 stars. People saying here that they really wish it was multiplayer. It'd be so fun with friends. People saying that this game blew them away. They did not expect this to be free, and they were really surprised that it doesn't have more acclaim or people haven't done more for the developers. People did point out there is some lag and fishing glitches, a little Emerson breaking. I will say personally, if you're looking at this trailer or if you're getting into the game, I highly recommend once you get to the settings, turn the graphics slider all the way up. It'll look way better. Still very kind of Minecraft-ish graphics, but way less jaggies and aliasing than it starts out, and turn on the smooth locomotion, and it's such a better experience. Another person saying they lost 8 hours straight the first day they played it. Sadly, people in lower reviews citing that there is not enough progression, or they wish the game hadn't been abandoned because it was really promising. I will say, if the developer somehow sees this and you're working on it, let us know in the comments, because if more comes to this game, I will definitely revisit it. Remember that creepy Crawlspace game we talked about a while back? Well, there's a Crawlspace 2 VR lover, let me know. Similar to the premise of the first game, you see an ad in the paper for a job. Someone is needing help with their ventilation system, so you take that job and you have to survive 5 nights of this. With 70 ratings, it's got about a 4.5 star rating, and one of the creepiest things about it, when you first open this game, it takes you through what it calls calibration, showing you a bunch of pictures of creepypasta, creepy images. It really gets you in the mood to get freaked out from the start. The game has been out since December of last year and has currently got 79% 5-star ratings and 7% of those 1-star ratings down there. People saying they really want multiplayer for this. It's too scary to play alone. Please get multiplayer. People giving it 5 stars and saying that Crawlspace 1 was better, or people saying that they got rid of features from Crawlspace 1 and giving it 1 star. A lot of the lower reviews mostly comparing it to the first one and saying the first one was better. What do you think? Do you ever play horror games in VR? I know a lot of people don't. Thanks to Noah Plays Stuff for bringing up Touring Karts, a game that actually launched free on Quest just to help add to its player base at the time it was launched. We were told this was going to be the Mario Kart of virtual reality, and people had really high hopes. Unfortunately, with about 200 ratings, this ended up with a very low 3.1 star rating. When the game launched, it had multiple control styles, one of which was immersive VR mode, where you hold the actual steering wheel in your hands and turn that, and another where you just use the analog stick to control your turning. The VR turning was really rough. People were spending all their time crashed into walls, stuck in last place, and losing the races. Now it ended up with really mixed reviews, with 36% of people saying it's a 5-star game and 30% of people saying it's a 1-star game. A review even bringing up this is a great Mario Kart alternative, but don't play with the motion controls. You have to use the sticks for this. Another person saying it's not good. The driving always made me hit the wall. I always got last because of it. Fix it. People saying that it was buggy. People saying it's a cool concept, but it's barely working. I got back into the game due to your suggestions after all these years, and I will say it was much better than I remembered as long as I played with the analog sticks. I had tried to play with the virtual controls before like everyone else and had a terrible time. The game does feel like Mario Kart, but sometimes the frame rate can suffer, and when it does, it's hard to play. If you've been looking for a racing game for a while for free, this might be one that's worth checking out again and seeing, did it get better, did it get worse, and let them know in the review section. Let me know in the comments too, I'd love to know. Thanks to the Unblocking God for bringing up multiple free games I actually hadn't covered yet, one of which was Bang Bang Slice. This game really plays out like a low budget, super hot or pistol whip kind of combined together. In this game, you are fighting your way through multiple scenarios, and the way you advance forward is when you take out enemies, you can grab their guns out of the air, and then that pushes you forward through the levels. That means there is no free locomotion style, although I was surprised when I looked at this game how well it actually played in practice. That said, the tutorial froze up on me, but hey, with about 50 ratings, it's got about a 4.7 star rating, and surprisingly, 84% of those reviews are 5 stars, leaving just a few ratings that are even below that. In the reviews, people saying it's so good, and it's like Super Hot but different, more like a checkers or chess game, and Super Hot had a baby. Interesting comparison. The developer responding saying that much more is coming. People saying it's got a lot of fun and a lot of potential. And if you go looking for bad reviews, no one's wrote anything really in the bad. The lowest you can find is a 3-star rating, bringing up that there is bugs, obviously, since it's an alpha, and bringing up issues with how the game doesn't really tell you what's expected as you get to the higher levels and there's new mechanics mechanics added. You have to just kind of figure them out as you go or go look up a tutorial. That said, this was another game that surprised me when I got into it, how involved it was for something that feels like it was built by an indie studio. If you really like super hot and pistol whip style games, it might be worth checking out and seeing what you think of it. Another suggestion from you, Shinobi no Mono is a ninja style simulator game. Think about an early build of Blade and Sorcery if you were in a ninja world. There's actually a lot of history to the title of this game. There was a series of novels in the 60s that came out in the Sunday paper, and even a movie that seems to have similar connotations to what the idea of this game is. This game is an early build, and with that, it's got over 50 ratings, giving it about 4 stars. Having only come out this last year, people are reminding in the reviews here, this game is in pre-release, so expect bugs and glitches in the game, but people still saying it's really fun. People saying it's fun gameplay and it's got great potential, but people giving lots of suggestions to the developer as well, saying it would be nice to see the enemies' health so that you know how you're fighting them. Some people saying that the enemies are too strong. I got into this and I found it wasn't really very hard to fight the enemies. The climbing mechanics, and it made me really wish that it had more jumping mechanics as well. It would feel really cool to be able to jump up and then slice down on someone with your sword, but ultimately the easiest way to take down your enemies was kind of slapping them with the sword really quickly back and forth rather than doing long strikes and feeling like you're really a ninja. But with the graphics style and the gameplay style, it got me interested to see what's coming next as the developer takes this forward, especially if they add like dismemberment and some of the other things Blade and Sorcery has added too. Thor Bridgekeeper was another suggestion from you here. Kind of a wave shooter type game where you have your hand to punch with and your other hand has a hammer in it. You're throwing these at enemies that are trying to cross this bridge and kill you. Definitely a very tech demo feeling type game. It gets interesting later in the game if you stick with it. In the tutorial, it shows you all these abilities you get right off the bat, and it makes you feel like you're going to be able to use all those. When you go to play the regular game, the abilities unlock kind of slower, but as you get further, bigger, stronger, harder enemies with more abilities also show up. Of course, once you die once, then it stops. That's your high score and you have to start over again. So it was something that I didn't really want to come back to as a result of that, but something that I did find if I would have kept going with it, it got better. I just wish you progressed a little faster. The game's only got about 20 ratings with a 4.1 star rating. A good amount of those are 5 stars at 67% and then split down the rest. People saying it's a great game. I don't think it has any more updates coming, but it was free. People saying they're hoping to see the next level, and someone saying no sex. It was a random one, but you suggested it. I checked it out, and for one time a run through, I actually did enjoy what I got to see. Probably won't visit this one again though. Void Ninja demo actually surprised me because when I played the game, it felt like it was a completed experience and not a demo. Obviously a very small built experience. This has you running through all kinds of different platforms with an odd gesture-based movement where you're continually propelled forward like in Pistol Whip, but instead of stepping side to side, you kind of lean and then you'll glide over to the sides. The interesting thing about this game is as you get further, you unlock new abilities where you're flying, gliding, different enemies. The one thing that kept bugging me though, I had it on easy and it said that was 3 bars, but it felt like anyone hit me once and I died. With all that, the game isn't very well known with less than 20 ratings, giving it just slightly over a 4-star rating. 61% of those are 5-star, and then we got pretty split with 11%, 4, 3, 2, and just 6% 1-star. People here talking about how VR needs more runner games like this, saying it's a great runner, people asking for more and the developer responding to them. And the lowest review that anybody wrote anything was 3 stars, saying it's a work in progress and to keep an eye on it. This has been out since early February of last year. I hope there's more updates coming to it because it does have a promising idea that it's working from, and some of the mechanics are really cool where you have a katana on each shoulder, but I found the things like the bow and arrow were pretty finicky when you were trying to get it out. It wasn't always reliable. If you're into kind of psychedelic runner type games that are a bit more low poly, it might be worth checking out. Thanks to Fall Leaves for suggesting Pollinator Park. This is a very different type of experience. It is set in the future in Europe in 2050, showing some of the ecological disasters that have happened to the world. You take a tour through what is called Pollinator Park, and it teaches you a lot of real life facts about the world and pollination, but it's an interesting future view talking about how this first ever dome like this was built back in 2020, and this shows the future of what it's done to try and help the world. The game says it's a crossover between a zoo, theme park, interactive museum, and a crystal ball. And with that, 44 ratings put this at about a 4.7 star. Mostly positive ratings, 84% 5-star ratings, and just 7% 1-star ratings. People say that it's amazing, that it's informative, and that it's beautiful, well done, and literally no bad written reviews. reviews. The only review below a 5-star says that they think there should be a seated option. This is a surprisingly beautiful experience, although you do have to teleport through it. I couldn't find a locomotion option in it, but that said, it was definitely worth checking out if you're interested in anything like this. Peeps or Gross let me know I should try out Marineverse, although there is 2 Marineverses, Marineverse Cup and Rigging Drill by Marineverse. 1 rating at 5 stars. This basically is a scale model of a boat that you just have to build. Maybe I missed something when I was testing this, but it is just so random. It says here that it's got a rope and mixed reality and stuff. I didn't find any of those modes in there. So if anyone out there is interested in wasting a little bit of their time figuring this one out, I'll leave links to both down in the description and in a pinned comment in case you want to check out this one that just came out in July where you can build this scale model of a boat. Of course, with its inexplicable 1 5-star rating with no words. Unfold VR was something that was also suggested by Scarlet Ibis to check out. This is an interesting app. I definitely wouldn't quite say this is a game, but the pretty skyline views you get when you get into the penthouse of the meeting are kind of nice to see. This is advertised as a VR first app, and it has a companion web app, all running on chain, and this lets you build stuff for the metaverse. There's a word I feel like we haven't heard in a while. This seems more like a showcase for things that people are building to go see them in VR and what they look like in person. It was interesting to see a couple of the inventions and creations that were in there. Might be something if you're into that you want to check out, but definitely something that I felt like I was pretty lost in after I spent any time looking at it. 1 5-star rating, no reviews about it, but if you get in, tell me what you figured out about it. And with that, that's another 10 games all suggested by you, or some of them weren't games, but mostly games all suggested by you. Thank you for helping me weed out some of these last ones as we are working towards making that list, cataloging every free game basically on Quest and App Lab, and we're getting there. So thank you once again, and I will see you in another reality.